All right, so here's how to do brushing with a chainsaw. So this is a rough opening we cut out for the bottom of this window, and this is a lot rougher than you usually be doing brushing on. Generally, brushing is done after you've done a cut with a chainsaw like this a lot of times, so you have a flatter surface. But this was just a very rough opening, and we just chunked it out. As you can see, it's got these chunks. So this will actually be a good demonstration of how flat you can get it even when it's really rough. Now this one, I did grab the smaller saw of ours, so it's just about maxed out on our width here. This is 16-inch bar, and I am cheating a little bit because I am using a Canon bar which has flat rails, which will make it a little easier. So if you're doing this with a more traditional style bar, maybe a regular steel bar, you'll notice that the rails are not parallel, so you got a slight hump in the chain. You can see that. So just when you're sanding with one, or when you're brushing with one of these, it's still very doable. You just have to be aware that you have the belly in the bottom of the bar, and so the center of your brushing area could be lower. You'll want to adjust for that by raising or lowering your saw a little bit. And then at the end, I'll show you how to do the flat brushing, which will really flatten it out, and you can do that with either a regular bar with bellied rails or with parallel rails. So let's try this. So because of the width of this log and my smaller bar, I am going to switch to that saw. So to get this in, you'll be able to see what I talked about there with the different size. The other thing you'll also want to really take note of, especially if you're doing this where it's been chunked out and you have these lines that are running this way, you don't want to keep your saw always going perpendicular to the log. A lot of times you're going to want to angle it and then cross angle it so you don't catch, because what will happen is if you're running it along here and you hit one of these, it'll catch and then dig in right there. So you'll want to watch out for that. The other thing, this one's going to be a little trickier because I'm using, this is a chisel tooth, so the edges of the teeth are square. I don't know if you can see that from there. This is a better chain for brushing because it's semi-chisel, where the edge of the teeth are round, so it works a lot better. So this one takes a lot more skill. We'll see how much I tear this log up, but we'll try it. And the other thing you'll notice is I do angle my bar. I'm going to do it towards the camera. I do angle it a little bit, so I'm less likely, if I do it like this, I'm more likely to dig in. But I'll either go from straight to slightly angled away from the direction I'm brushing. right, I'm not gonna worry about taking this middle area down since this is just for demonstration purposes. But if I wanted this completely perfectly flat and with a really nice reveal, I would continue to take this down until I was past this area here where it was cut out. The other thing is, obviously if this was a nice clean cut that this log's actually gonna get cut lower for this opening, which it'll get cut with the saw flat, so it'll be a lot easier to actually brush and finish. But now I'm gonna just keep using this saw. This saw is just easier, but it's a little bit short for this log. I'm gonna keep using this saw and I'll show you how to run it flat and get it even smoother and flatter. So something you'll notice is as I'm doing this, if I'm going this direction, I'm going to be tilting the bar up this way just slightly. Not too much with this bar with the belly, because if I go too much, I'll actually start to belly out that cut. So I want to keep it kind of flat, but just a little bit so I don't dig into this edge. And then as I'm coming back, I just reverse that and lift this edge slightly. The other thing you want to be very aware of, and if you run a chainsaw a while, you're going to be aware of this right away, is when I'm running it this way, there is a chance of kickback there. So I like to brace it on my leg, or depending on what height I'm cutting at, leg or chest area, somewhere in there. That's actually why I moved my ladder, because I was getting out there and that's a little sketchy. So I didn't put any reference lines on this cut, just for this demo purpose. So I'm not sure how level it's going to be and flat it's going to be side to side. But let's throw the 2-foot level on here and see. I don't know if you can see that from there, but except for this area that's been cut out, that's almost, it's within less than a 1/16 of perfectly flat. This way's not quite there because I didn't have a reference line, but it's actually pretty close. If you just, especially once you've run a saw for a while, especially if you built a whole house with one, just trust your body will find where it's flat. It's kind of weird, but you can actually get insanely accurate. I've gotten these now to where with a reference line, you just have to sand it smooth with you can do a 7-inch grinder with a light pad on it, so it's not digging in too much. You're not changing the shape any with the grinder or the sander, you're just smoothing it out. Because this is still a little rough, it is still chainsaw markings on here, but it's much smoother than you would expect. You can do some really accurate work with these with just a little practice. Obviously, if it's your first time doing this, take a scrap log, cut a flat on it and practice this. Put some reference marks on it so you can practice going to those, but you can get super, super accurate with the chainsaw.